I love that you guys are, building your community, but you also deliver tons of value and support and accountability.
We have literally taken deals from data to dispo only using Privy. So if you guys are newer, getting started, and you're on a shoestring budget, man, this is a way that you can get in and start getting some deals under your belt.
At the end of the day, right, it's not who's the best, it's who's left in this business, right? There's a lot of people that enter the fold. Most of them do not have the wherewithal. So all you need to do is have a system like Privy that is dialed in, that can give you all the tools and resources you need to consistently make offers. I have guys that are doing this part-time and locking up deals left and right all over the country.
Welcome everybody to the Privy webinar here. I am Chris Closes Your Deal with Real Estate Investing Made Easy. We've been doing business for about 5 years now. My one business partner has been in business since 2008, 2009. He started out doing fix and flips, and then we got together in 2019 and then incorporated together in 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. So we went full force into real estate investing, built our businesses and scaled those up. And, through that time, we've tried a whole host of different things, texting, cold calling, you name it. And one of the tools and softwares that we really fell in love with once we started using it was Privy. And just because of really everything that it gives you, it gives you so many different features and tools and resources. And, this webinar, we lovingly named it From Data to Dispo, because we have literally taken deals from data to dispo only using Privy. So if you guys are newer, getting started, and you're on a shoestring budget, man, this is a way that you can get in and start getting some deals under your belt and bringing in some revenue and just get yourself teed up to go to that next level and start funding higher level marketing, with whether it's texting or cold calling or whatever it is that you want to do. You can start getting that deal flow and getting those dollars in. So we got Benson Juarez here, the founder of Privy, ready to show you all the little tips, tricks, and the new features. So Benson, what do you got for us today?
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate you and Christian and Brad and the whole team over there. Everyone's so awesome. You guys are moving and shaking, providing tons of valuable content, just being out there with the community. I love that you guys are building your community, but you also deliver tons of value and support and accountability. And, this business is really challenging, and it's even more challenging when you're doing it by yourself. The fact that you guys provide a safe place for people to come and learn and share and do things together, I think is awesome. There's so many ways out there to source leads. There's so many different ways to do disposition, and all of it's easier when you leverage data and technology and automation. And that's what we were looking to solve many years ago. My business partner, Scott Fall, really is the brainchild of the Privy platform. And, when it was conceived of way back when, this is over 10 years ago, these are some of the same problems that we were trying to solve then that people are still trying to figure out in their own businesses. So getting consistent deal flow, spending time and money on ineffective marketing campaigns that just aren't giving you a good return on investment, writing a bunch of offers, and then the offers aren't getting accepted. They're ghosting you, or you're getting cussed out, or they're offended because the offer is too low. That stuff happens fairly consistently. Or maybe you're getting some leads, but you just can't really determine, what the value is. You don't have the comps available to be able to determine an accurate after repair value, or to be able to come up with any sort of value, because maybe you're looking in a rural area where there's low investor activity. So those are some of the challenges. And then for the wholesalers out there, really building a good solid list of buyers that are taking action today in this kind of volatile real estate market. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, and you certainly don't want to spend a bunch of time going after people to take your deals from you, your hard-earned deals, and they're not responding. So we got some stuff we're going to show you guys tonight, on lead gen, to analyzing properties, to doing local market research, and also being able to build a strategic list of boots on the ground for those of you that are doing stuff either virtually or in your own backyard, where you need to leverage investor-friendly agents or you need to find buyers. We're going to show you how you can do that using this strategy that I put together called the reverse REI strategy. So essentially you begin with the end in mind. You begin with at several steps ahead, like if you were playing chess, right? You're thinking, okay, how am I going to maneuver and how am I going to set up my business in the best possible way? And it is by basically doing what other investors have already done. So Chris, have you read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
I think I have it on the Audible, so I've listened to some of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good business strategies in there. And one of the most common ones that we use in business in general, not just real estate, is beginning with the end in mind. So it's really having a sense of like where we want to end up and then reverse engineering the process to figure out how we should start. And then we can put a better plan together on how to get to that end, right? Because we reverse engineer it. In the real estate business, especially in real estate investing, when after repair value is so important, it really is about making sure you're choosing the hottest markets to invest. There's so many variables and levers that we got to pull to be able to be successful that it is, people sometimes think it's the list they're pulling, or if they're, the script they're using on the phone, or what data source they're using, or if they're using Privy or PropStream or Batch Leads, or a lot of those other things matter. They do matter. They all add up to, the eventual outcome we get. But I believe the most important factor, and the factor that causes people to fail the most often, is they're looking in the wrong areas. And so with this reverse REI strategy, you can make sure you're buying where our deals are getting done, where your comps are located. You can learn from what those other investors are doing by, the percentage of ARV they're buying at, the prices they're buying at. And then that can turn you into a local market expert, which is very, very difficult to do. 5-10 years ago, like the only way you were able to learn a market is by going and doing actual deals. But now you can become a local market expert in hours. And I actually did the process I'm going to show you guys tonight is what I did when I first was looking for a virtual market to invest in outside of Colorado. And I eventually chose St. Louis. So it's going to be this very similar process. It's one of those things that you really have to pay attention to. And I'll say there's way more benefit to it than just being better prepared. You can avoid mistakes. You can get to, taking action much more quickly. You'll be more confident in your numbers and you'll get the best possible outcome. And so it's all by just putting a little bit of extra work in up front, and not months or years, like literal days, maybe even hours for some of you. Here's just some of the high level benefits if you're using Privy. We've got off-market leads. You can go and you can source, say, foreclosures or absentee owners, vacancies, tired landlords, people who have owned properties for certain numbers of years. We got public record data like owner information, mortgage information, deed data, assessor's info. We've got direct MLS data. Now, this is one of the things that makes us the most unique at any platform that's out there, is we actually have an entire department. We call it the compliance department, but they are the ones that are going out and negotiating these direct to MLS data contracts, which gives us access to the best information that's available for analyzing properties, comping houses, doing your local market research, and also getting the data you need to properly analyze houses, because that data ages quickly. And so you want to make sure you're using the best possible data. We're the only platform that has that data on scale. We also have a brand new source of rental data that we just have. We've got over 130 million data points, so you can analyze properties from a cash flow perspective. We've got automation and systems that we've built that will help you execute your strategy, but almost like, like you have a team of virtual assistants, like really doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you, so you don't have to be in the system all day. And if you have a 9-to-5 or you've got family responsibilities or other things that you are accountable for, being able to do stuff full time is very difficult. So we've got algorithms that automate all this stuff I'm going to show you today, but it's all based off of what is working for other investors. That'll shorten your learning curve, lower your risk, and help you get better outcomes.
How many markets do you guys have MLS data in at this point?
It's over 100. We actually just added in several new markets.
And that's even in non-disclosure states too, right?
It is. Yeah, that's one of the coolest things. So there's like over 10 non-disclosure states. Texas is the largest one. We've got direct to MLS data and with 5 major markets there. But here's just some of the newest markets that we've added. So Northern California, different parts of Florida, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York City, Triad MLS, that's Greensboro, in Winston-Salem, South Carolina. We've added a bunch of new markets here. These are just here within the last couple of months.
How valuable is it to be able to get access without having to have actual direct MLS access? We got a lot of people in here doing non-disclosure. So you guys are in the right room. That's the most important thing, getting in the right room, finding the right stuff.
Yep. And this map right here is a visual representation of all of our data sources. So at the top right here, we have a bit of a legend. And so we have, where you see black is like the county record data, public record information for researching properties, looking at sales history, owner information, all that stuff. We have that nationwide. That's what you might get from like a prop stream out there. Okay. Fine platform, but we really decided that we wanted to elevate the quality and the accuracy of the data. And we've done that by going to these direct to MLS negotiations and really getting that data in our system. It's different than what an agent gets. I'm licensed in Colorado. I've been in the business for 20 years and I can go in and I can comp properties out in the MLS if I wanted to, but the MLS is not designed for real estate investing. It's basically a place where real estate agents can go and list properties and get them out to other agents and, have information available for comping. It doesn't have a comping algorithm. None of it's automated. It's not designed for tracking investment activity, finding buyers. It's all manual. So that's one of the reasons why we built Privy in the first place, is we were looking for a better way of adding efficiencies into our business, more automation, and the ability to actually find deals, right? It's another thing that the MLS doesn't do. It won't send you deals. So we've got a lot of really cool features inside of Privy. So wherever you see the blue is where we've already negotiated those direct to MLS data contracts. The red ones or the pink ones are the ones that are coming soon. And so this map will constantly evolve and change as we add more markets. I mentioned earlier investor activity. So investor activity is basically us being able to track all the other activity that's going on having to do with investments. And most importantly, especially for those of us that are doing wholesale or fix and flip, or we're buying properties based off of a percentage of ARV or after repair value, we have to be very, very cognizant and up to speed on after repair values for those areas, because that's what we use to prove value on our deals. Right, Chris? So like when you're going out and you're running comps on a property and you're doing a wholesale deal, like what are some of the things that you look for when you're analyzing a house?
Yeah, great question. So when I'm analyzing a property, I'm looking at obviously bed, bath, square footage, when it was built. I'm looking at overall condition, amenities, things that it's going to have, right? I want stuff with pools. And I want properties that have sold within, ideally, in that specific subdivision. But alternatively, if I have to go out further, I'll go out a little bit further. And then something that's sold ideally right now, like within the last 90 days. So that's kind of really what I'm looking for.
We have a lot of that stuff in our system. The algorithm that does the comparables is amazing. Like it's based off of all the standard comping practices that an agent or an appraiser would use, but it all happens in a fraction of a second. So, if you're newer to comping, or if you don't want to comp manually because it's not an effective use of your time, you can leverage our algorithm to do that. One of the reasons why I pulled this map up right here is this is what shows us where investor activity is at. So when I was trying to find out which market I was going to go and target to look for new deals, I wanted there to be investor activity so that I knew that the comps and the data that I need to properly analyze a home and determine after repair value was already present. So I can solve that problem for myself. So instead of being reactionary, which most investors are, Chris, they go out and they look for deals, they go and they're lead driven, and then they hope that the comps are there. Where what you should do is you go and you look for deals where your comps are already at present, and then you just have to find that unrenovated house that's down the street from the house that was just fix and flipped. And all of that solves a lot of the problems for you that you would typically have. So right here in the map is that investor activity heat map. So wherever you see the larger circles with the higher numbers are areas that have more activity. There's some obvious areas that you would want to avoid. So see these areas where there's just no blue. Those are markets you wouldn't want to spend any time looking for a deal, because every minute you're out looking for a deal in Taos, New Mexico, is a minute you're not looking for a deal in an area like Dallas-Fort Worth, where there's a ton of investor activity. This is part of the challenge, is that most investors look for deals based off of many reasons, but they all, in my mind, equal up to being a little lazy with regards to choosing the right markets. So what's convenient, the proximity, what's familiar, what's comfortable. Usually that means that we look for deals where we live. But if you live in a market where there's not a lot of activity, like I mentioned here in Taos, then you're wasting your time. Could you stumble into a deal in Taos? Maybe, but could you build a business around it? Could you build consistency, predictability in your business? Could you get enough going so that there's enough deal flow for you to feel comfortable, maybe leaving your 9 to 5 and doing this full time and getting to a place where you feel like you've got good revenue enough to where you can, move from like a wholesale strategy to maybe starting to invest in some rental properties, because now you've got liquidity and you've got money you can put down. So if you're in a low investor activity area, I would highly suggest that you move to a place that has the activity like we're seeing right here, and then just drill down on that market. So let's say you were interested in Dallas. So if we click this cluster right here, that's going to drill us in a little bit closer. And then these clusters, they start to break up into smaller clusters. And then we can do some local market research and become an expert about what's happening there. And what you can gather from this data is way more than the value, in my mind, of being your own boots on the ground. Being able to see what people are buying them properties for, what they're selling them for, the percentage of ARV, that's all way more valuable than myself having the ability to go and just drive around a house and being able to look at it with my own eyes. I would rather have the data. And so what you can do here is you can drill down into these markets where a lot of this investor activity is happening, and then you can learn what investors are buying properties for. Because a deal in Dallas is totally different than a deal in even Austin or Houston, or even outside the state in Florida and maybe in Northern California or Philadelphia. It's different everywhere. So you don't want to use any sort of universal formulas for determining what a deal is. You basically want to know what your local competition is doing and then use that as a basis for what a deal is. So the way you can learn that is by looking at some properties that have closed recently. If I look at this area right here, this is in between Dallas and Garland. These are all flips. So we can see how hot this area is. Regardless of the strategy you're using, fix and flip, buy and hold, BRRRR, you're buying rental properties. If you're using percentage of ARV as a way to measure that deal, this is where you want to look, because then you can now leverage these flipped houses to basically kind of set the stage for after repair values. And then it's really much easier to submit offers that have a higher chance of being accepted. Because if we determine we have to be at, say, 60% of the ARV, well, if it's 60% of 630 is a reasonable offer. But if we have to go in and offer 60% of an unrenovated house, maybe they got it for 400. Well, now we're submitting an offer that's way less, that has a really low chance of being accepted. So this house right here, this is a home that was just renovated. This report that we're looking at is called a live comparative market analysis. It's a fancy word for a property report. And again, even with the MLS, I can't build something like this in my system. We have the rich photos. You're not going to have these photos in other platform that maybe, says they have MLS data. They don't. They're not going to have these photos. They're not going to likely have the actual sold price of the property if it's in a non-disclosure state. We've got the property remarks, property features. The system automatically pulls comps for you. So these are the true comparables of the subject property in the middle based off of the major property characteristics like bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, stories. We use a 15% tolerance on the square feet, plus or minus. We're matching up stories. It's only half a mile from the center, but this is all adjustable. So if you determine that you've got a really unique house, well, you can see all the other houses in this area, and you might have to get really liberal on what you consider a comp, but we give you that flexibility. So you can go in there, you can remove the algorithm, you can see everything that's happening in here, and then you can choose the ones that are most similar to the subject property. But on that first pass, the algorithm is doing all that for you.
It's going to help you guys speed up your process, right? No more clicking back and forth in and out of different Zillow ads and looking at that. You get all of this right here at the click of a button.
Yep. It's a huge time saver. And you know what I found? One of the benefits I didn't predict, it was confidence, right? Like confidence in the numbers, confidence in what the property's worth, confidence that I can submit an offer that has a good chance of being accepted and I'm not wasting my time. But a lot of that leads to us being able to take action. And so many of us are either sitting on the sidelines and are scared to take action, or we're not doing enough to really get consistency in our business. So this will help with that. So we partnered up with the largest provider of rental data in the United States. That gives us over 130 million rental data points. And what's the cool thing about this, Chris, is that regardless if we have direct to MLS data there or not, we get a lot of photos. So you can see that a house in this particular condition will go for $1,500 a month compared to maybe a house that's been completely renovated. That's very similar. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,100 square feet, but maybe goes for 2,200. So this is really valuable if you're building your own portfolio. If you are looking at anything like a creative deal structure, like seller financing or subject to, but also too for the wholesalers out there. And I'm going to show you guys this here in a moment. There are over 40 million rental property owners in the US. If you're ignoring landlords as a source of buyers for your deals, you're missing out on the majority of the people that are buying real estate. When those people become your potentially new customers, you're gonna have to provide additional data when you're marketing that deal, not just percentage of ARV and the sales comps. You're also gonna want to provide the rental comparables so that it fits more in line with what a deal is for them. Because a landlord, they're one of the benefits of working with landlords, they don't need to get a property at 60% of the ARV for it to make sense for them. The flipper does. A landlord might be happy getting a house at 90% of the after repair value. I mean, a little bit of a discount, but as long as it cash flows, right? Do you work with many landlords, Chris?
We do from time to time, yeah. But as you know, it can be challenging trying to find those. I was curious with this, because this is the first time I'm really seeing the rental side of things. We've gotten a team, and one of my team members really manages the process within Privy that we use. So I haven't seen this particular feature. I'm curious, does this cross-reference different listings and then the owner information to where I can pull lists within Privy of owners who have their properties rented?
Yeah, you can pull any property. The easiest way to find landlords is by using our absentee owner search. Because what I just showed you were rental comps, right? But what if a property is not rented or is not a listing right now, or it wasn't recently? You still want to find those people. So I would come up here to the filter, and down here at the bottom, the absentee owner, this right here will find all of the properties that are owned in an area from a non-occupied owner perspective. And the main thing is that what makes it an absentee owner is that the mailing address that we have in our CSV file that you can download from here is different than the subject property address. That's how an absentee owner is found. So absentee owners is a great place to find buyers, but also sellers. A lot of absentee owners took a hit during the COVID because of the moratorium that happened, where the government said that, oh well, landlords are fine, we'll make them pay their mortgage payment, but we won't make the renters who are renting out those properties pay their rent. Go figure, right? I mean, so a lot of those people now are really looking to sell. And I read an article, it was a few months back now, that said 1 out of every 4 landlords had listed a property for sale in the last 24 months. So they're moving properties.
That's who here is marketing to absentee owners. I know we are. We just bought 36,000 records this month alone of absentee owners.
You don't have to buy them from Privy. If you have Privy, you get them for free. We give you 10,000 records per month for either absentee owners or foreclosures, or these are all buyers here. So we could export this right here by clicking the download button, and it'll export it into a CSV file. And then that will show us that we could put these people into a CRM, where we could go and we could skip trace them, but we give you the ability to download 10,000 a month, which is,
that's awesome.
That's a lot.
So I'm curious, right? Because obviously a depreciation buyer. So for those who don't know, a depreciation buyer is somebody who doesn't necessarily care if it cash flows positively, because they have so much income that they're looking for properties to buy to write off so that they can save on their taxes, right? So I'm curious, are you able to take that absentee owner list and see like, hey, purchased in the last year or 18 months or something along those lines, so you can find those, and even entity buyers or IRA buyers, right? Because people are buying in their IRAs.
Yeah, so right here, you can control, when the property was purchased. So you can come up here and you could do sold, timeline, last 12 months, last, 24 months, or you can put in a date range. We can also put in here, you want corporate owned properties, right? So you can tell us that, yeah, I want LLCs. So you get really creative with this piece of it for sure. We don't currently have skip tracing natively inside of Privy, and I don't know that we ever will. Skip tracing in a lot of circles is still kind of a gray area. Some companies just go and do it and do the money grab scenario, but we're being very careful about making sure that we're operating completely in an area we 100% understand the risk of. So we may never have that. But there's 1,000 companies that have it. And so you could just take that CSV file, upload it, just map the fields, the name of the company or the person, and then the subject property address, and then the mailing address, and then it'll triangulate and you can get contact information there.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a skip tracer, check out our YouTube channel, Real Estate Investing Made Easy. We've done a few videos on some different skip tracers. We have a preferred skip tracing company that we use that does get us, about 70% plus of records with mobile numbers, and then also gets us anywhere from a 50 to 70% hit rate on LLCs. So, and that's who we used to skip trace the entities where we dispoed that deal and we got that buyer's list from Privy. So we've had success with it. We continue to have success with it. So check out the YouTube channel and you can learn more about that particular vendor.
Yeah, skip tracing is still a lot of people still do it. You don't have to spend money on skip tracing because skip tracing is typically something you're going to do in bulk on a volume side. But you can go and you can Google the name of a company, for example. So one of the things that this house right here that was just flipped, when I'm doing my local market research, there's a section down here where I can come into the before and after, and I can see the before and after data on the flip itself. And this is something that's proprietary to Privy, and people love this because it's very educational. So we can see this. This is what the house looked like before they flipped it over on the left. So this one actually was purchased from the MLS. We can see the MLS ID here, and we can see they bought that just a few months ago this year. And then here's the after photos. So you can see that dramatic change, and you can see, what this particular fix and flipper, how they do business. You can see that they do really, high quality of work. We can see that they bought this thing for $390,000. They sold it for $630,000. They got it at 62% of the after repair value. That's really good information because now we're trying to figure out, well, what is a deal? And if you think that you have to be at 50% to find opportunities, well, maybe you're writing really lowball offers and you don't need to be, because we know that this flipper was willing to go up to 62%. And then we can come in here and see who this buyer was. This is 21 Homes Buyers LLC. So they bought it for that amount and then they flipped it. They made some money.
It looks like, did it go over asking?
Yeah, this is with the under contract amount. So yeah, it looks like it did go over asking price.
For those of you who are like, I'm not really sure how to estimate repairs, like that's a perfect example of being able to see, okay, here's the before, here's the after, what was done. And then you start backing out the numbers. You take that 630 and you take off, roughly about 10%, because that's the national average for realtor commissions, closing costs, buyer requests for repairs, home warranties and all that. That brings you down to 567. And then you take out the 390 that they bought it for. So now you have $177,000 spread. And that's going to be a combination of, any holding costs that they had, the cost of money, that's going to be the repair cost, and then their profits left over. So realistically, on a deal like that, what's the square footage? 2,700. So probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 to $70,000 into that property, and then maybe had $15,000 to $20,000 of holding costs, so now you're looking at close to $80,000 to $90,000 of profit that this flipper made. And so now you back out, let's say you're the wholesaler. If you can get that, at 370, you got a $20,000 profit margin, but that flipper might even be willing to pay a little bit more for that property. Maybe he's willing to pay, $400. And just out of curiosity, if that was assigned, let's say he got that from a wholesaler, that 390 number, that's going to be the contract price that the wholesaler had with the seller. Is that correct? And then because the assignment fee is technically not the sold price of the property, is that how it works?
It depends on how they structured it. They could have worked the assignment fee right into the contract price, or it could have been done outside of the contract. It really depends on how they structured it. That's what it was on the settlement statement.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So there's a world in which a wholesaler could have had that locked up at 390 and wholesaled it to that fix and flipper, and maybe that fix and flipper paid 410 for it. Right? You don't know exactly where that number is, but it's right around that number where you could assign that deal.
And the percentage of ARV is really important for us too, because that's how fix and flippers measure their deals as well. Like they know, okay, if I'm in a certain area and it's a standard kind of just renovation, I can get at a property at 62% or lower, and the numbers will likely work unless there's something major going on. So you don't have to be an expert in calculating construction costs to be able to operate this. You just need to know that this flipper bought at 62%. And if you could find another house that's similar to this one that's at 60%, well, you know that this buyer will buy it from you. And you also know, and this is one of the other cool things I love, is that you can understand the buyer's buy box without even having talked to him yet. So you know that this buyer will buy stuff from the MLS, right? We know that because they just did it. We also know that they're willing to go up to 62% of the ARV in the right situation. We know that they like 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,700 square foot ranches. So our buy box for them is already kind of been fleshed out. Now, where, how wide does it get? That's where we can find out. But if you go into it having done the research before, and before you even talk to these buyers, then you're going to be way better prepared. This is super valuable. So what I tell people is go back and look at the last 10 to 20 properties in any area that you're researching, and you'll be able to pretty well get dialed in on what buyers are buying properties for. And then you can be more competitive. Because if I was writing offers at 50% before, and now I just saw this flipper went to 62%, well, maybe that will help me understand why I'm not getting offers accepted, because I was just being way too conservative with my prices.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, San Diego is a perfect example of that, right? Like, so I know San Diego is my local market. I know that my buyers buy at 82% of ARV all the time, like every single, like clockwork, right? But most people are using a formula that's like 60, 70, 75%. They're never going to get their offers accepted, right? So, in those smaller markets, they'll go after like a 15 to 20% net margin. But here they're looking for $1 in for repair cost, $1 out for profit, which is going to be sometimes 8% net margin on the deal. But because dollar amounts that they're willing to go that low.
Everybody out there is convinced that all the good deals come directly from the seller, right? That's what everybody teaches. That's what everybody thinks. Well, that last flipper, we saw them, they bought their house from the MLS at 62%. This property was acquired off market and flipped, and they got theirs at 67% of the ARV. 5% worse than somebody who went and got something from the MLS. And guess what else this person probably also had? Marketing costs. They have to pay for mailers, or they're going to have cold callers, or they're going to skip trace, and they're going to do ringless voicemail and text blasting. There's costs involved in this deal that wasn't in that other one that they got at a lower percentage. So don't automatically assume that you know the market. Like, go in and learn a few things. Learn who the local market agents are, the investor-friendly agent. That's one of the first things that I did when I started doing stuff in St. Louis, is I found an agent who was working with investors using this process, started calling a handful, and I eventually found an agent who wanted to be my boots on the ground and help me review properties, write offers for me. She went and would walk properties, take photos for me, videos when necessary. But I didn't have that before I started doing this process. So you can find those investor-friendly agents. You can find the buyers, finding active buyers, investor-friendly agents, the operators, and then deals, right? So I showed you before how you can pull lists of properties, but you want to be very specific about where you pull lists. Don't just pull a random list. Don't do it based off of where you live or where you went to work or where you grew up. You're pulling lists from these areas that have a lot of sold fix and flips. That way, if you find a motivated seller, then you have the data to prove value. Now, who's the most motivated seller out there right now, Chris?
Probably, whoever's got the most pain.
Yeah, and also too, the one that's proven that they really want to sell. And those people are the ones that put their houses on the MLS.
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
So right here, we got this button that says find similar active deals. So what that is, it's an algorithm that's taken all of those closed deals that we were looking at, and it uses those as a model for what a successful deal looks like. And then it reverse engineers it. So it's going out and it's looking for properties that we can buy right now. And then based off the research we just did, right, I only looked at 2 properties, but let's say on average, they got those at about 65%, right? So we're going to adjust the template filter from 75 to 65%. And let's say we talk to one of the buyers and the buyer says, well, you know what? I don't want to spend more than $500,000. And then maybe that particular buyer was a landlord and they only wanted 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses minimum. That was built after 1978. Like, you can basically build your buy box for yourself or for your buyers in the system, and then just click save search, and that will actually automatically send you new leads as often as you want, up to every hour. And so that automation is really powerful, especially, again, like I said, if you're busy, you're out in the field, or you got other responsibilities. The system will go do all that heavy lifting for you, email you whenever a new opportunity is found, and that way you can get those offers out the door quickly.
All those green indicators right there are properties that are 65% or lower of ARV.
Yep. So what it's doing is it's comparing the ask price of the home to the price of the comps. Here's a ranch. It's for sale for $189. Here's the interior. Like it needs some work, right? But it's, clean, and it just needs, some work here. I can't tell what's going on with that wall there. It looks a little iffy. But the reason why we flag this property as a deal is if we scroll down into the comp section, we can see here that we have two comparables that sold. This one went for $321. This one is actually for sale for $330, but that one was flipped. When that sells, then we'll have a better sense of the after repair value for this particular property. But let's broaden this just a little bit here. Let's lift the algorithm for a moment, and we can see some other data. There's a lot of other properties here. This one was flipped, 2, 3, 4 flips that are in this particular zone, which is what we want. We want to be able to see what another property was fixed and flipped and sold for.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one's really close. It has an extra bathroom, so we can make a slight adjustment to this, but it's still going to be over, $250. And so this one at $189 has some potential, and that's even without going in and negotiating a really deep discount.
How many days on market has that one been?
I think it's 13 days. So this is one market, right? Let's say we did this exact same search in Chicago. In this market right here, this is one of the hotter areas. You see this activity. I'm going to adjust the filter though. I think I need to be, say, lower than 55% in Chicago. It's a lower price point. There's going to be houses that have more deferred maintenance. And, let's say I don't want to spend more than $190. So I can rerun the algorithm here and I can find opportunities to write offers on right now. So here's a house that just came on the market. It's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, $99,000 is the ask price. It's 1,650 square feet, good size home, brick bungalow. It's going to need a lot of work, but at 99 grand, and there's data that says this thing is at 55% or less. And I can look at the comparables here. The closest sold fix and flip went for 290, and that's a 3.4. Ours is a 4.4. So this property that you can buy for basically 100 grand is at 34% of the after repair value at asking price. It's for sale for $99.9. The closest flip comp went for $290. It's only a 3.4. Ours is a 4.4.
And they haven't even repriced yet. It's only been on the market for one day. And look at average days on market for everything else: 30, 60, 118, 50, 71. They are definitely going to be reducing price at some point, or they're just looking for a quick sale.
We got a sharing tool here where you can just click share this property, and you can email it to your real estate agent. You could send it, if you're an agent, you can send it to one of your clients. The person who receives it can open it up on their computer. They don't have to be a Privy user. You can send it to your lender. If you're a wholesaler, I use these comparative market analysis to market my wholesale deals too. So there's lots of different use cases to be able to leverage this data here. But this is another deal. This has been way better than that other one. And I mean, just think about that person who bought that house in Texas at 67%, and it was direct to seller. This is 34%, and it's an MLS deal. So lots of opportunities there, you guys. There are certainly lots of properties that we can help find for you. You can do off-market leads. You can do on-market leads. You can become a local market expert. You can find agents. So right here at the top, these are all people here that are Privy users, and they're investor friendly, and they've said they're looking for clients. That's why they're on this list. So depending upon which market, you'll have a lot of other opportunities to work with investors, investor friendly agents. And we have some right here inside of Privy.
So Stephen asked, how do you wholesale that if you get the offer accepted at the listing price? So that's a really good question, Stephen. So and Tony mentioned double close. Yes, you can double close. But I think really Stephen's greater question is, while avoiding risk as much as possible, right? If you close on the property, you might be taking on some risk. So my suggestion is always to try to get a discount, right? Like, you can almost always get a discount. It's very rare that somebody's going to list the property and not have any flexibility whatsoever. So I would encourage you to try to get a discount, come in lower than what they're listed at. And, if people are accepting your first offer, your offer's not low enough. Like, you need people to be telling you no, and work your way up in the offer so there's some room. Because the reality is, if I'm a flipper and you bring a contract to me and you're trying to make money over listing, or you're trying to assign it to me at the listed price, I'm just going to wait for you to fall out of escrow, knowing that my negotiation skills are good enough where I can lock it up probably 10, 15, 20, $1,000 or more below what you have it at. So I would recommend going in with a negotiation and, trying to get it under the list price. With that being said, every market's different, and I'm not familiar with the Chicago market, but I have a buddy that works in Michigan, Detroit, and Detroit, literally every street could be wildly different just based on a few burnouts. So, you could see a property like this and it's 34%, and it could be seemingly a good deal, but without that very market specific knowledge of like, hey, this street is an absolute war zone, nobody's going to buy that, you're not going to know. So it's really hard. You got to do a little bit of research. You got to know your buyers, but you can at least start. And again, with Privy, you can pull buyers lists of people that have actually bought properties in the area. Hopefully you can find somebody that bought on the same street, an exact comp, and you can pull them up. And most real buyers are not going to go around you and backdoor you because they want foot soldiers out there bringing them deals. So you can reach out to, hey, what would you buy a deal like this at? And see what they say. And they'll give you a number they'd buy it at, and you just lock it up below that. So hopefully that answers your question.
One of the things that I do when I'm getting my buyers ready for me to send them deals is I set the expectation. Because like, let's say that last one that we looked at Chicago, in Dallas, and we know they bought it at 62% of the ARV. So really it shouldn't matter if this house is listed at 99 grand and the ARV is 3 times as much. Like who cares if you have to pay $120,000 for this house, right? It's still a deal. And so when I talk to buyers, I try to get that to the surface that like, listen, are you worried about listing price? Are you worried about getting deals? Because my system's so good that I'm first to having my offer on the table. I can lock things up. I'm only going to find you properties that match your deal criteria. And if I can get it lower than 50%, and you told me you wanted stuff at 62%, well, who cares if you have to pay 105 for this thing? It's still a deal. I get them to agree to that up front. And then I go and I look for deals. And then if I find something that's close to asking price or even a little bit over, we've already worked it out. Real estate agents are notorious for listing properties below what they're really worth just to create an artificial bidding war. And why should I lose out on a deal? And why should a fix and flipper be worried about some agent who just doesn't know how to list properties? We have a mobile optimized version of Privy. So you can actually be out in the field. You can just type your address in. You can run comps while you're out in the car driving around. We also have this new filter that I want to show you guys that based off of that rental data I showed you guys. So if you switch from fix and flip to long-term rental, you can find properties that are based off of cash flow. So we measure them off of cap rates, cash on cash return, annualized return, and gross yield. There's an explanation here on what all those mean, what's different. But let's say you were looking for a house that was at a 10% cap rate. Well, you can enter the filter here, all your other criteria, and now Privy's going in and it's running comps on properties, but not from like finding a discount, but based off of a cash flow perspective. So this house right here, that's for sale for $63,000, has rents from $1,100 all the way up to $1,400. And then we can open up that property and we can see all of that right here. And if we scroll down and we go to the comparables section, we can see those rental comps. Here's the rental comparables. We can click, okay, what does a $1,400 property look like compared to a $1,100 per month property? And then down below that, we have this section down here where you can see all of the assumptions. So we can see that the assumption is $60,000 purchase price, occupancy rate, all that stuff. These are all of the defaults. And then you can also, here in the next couple of days, we're going to have an edit feature right here where you'll be able to go in and edit all of the assumptions. So what happens if you buy it for 55 grand? What happens if you do self-management? What happens if you put 40% down instead of 20%? We have all that right here in these new calculators.
Nice. That's freaking awesome. Now, is this showing properties that have actually been rented or like days list? Like how are you getting the rental data?
It all comes from property management companies, but we have a partner who is sourcing all that data from the property management companies and putting it in our system.
Yeah, that's pretty legit. Because how many people here have called a bunch of property management companies and asked them what things are renting for, right? It's like a lot of time, energy, and effort. Most of us, what we do is we look at the rent Zestimate, we look at like Rentcast, look there, Rentometer, all these things, which are just, algorithms, but this is actual data from property management companies. Like, you don't get better than that.
You're absolutely correct. It doesn't get any better than that. And it's, with the additional photos, it really does help you really understand what a property will rent for in those markets. Many of the things that were why we built Privy, some of the problems that we solved, I showed you guys kind of from A to Z, how you can go from not knowing a market at all to finding hot markets, doing some local market research, becoming an expert, building a buyer's list, finding investor-friendly agents, exporting lists to finding, legitimate deals you can write offers on. And also, maybe proven and showing some different perspectives on things like, yeah, you can get deals from the MLS. Can you get deals off market? Yeah, you certainly can. But the off market game gets expensive because of all the marketing, is challenging because it's basically a sales job. And there's a reason why salespeople are usually the highest paid individuals at, companies, is because they're the ones bringing in all the revenue. It's really hard to do. You have to be able to get the person on the other end of that line, that seller who, is already maybe distrustful of people who are calling them because maybe they're in foreclosure or something like that. They've got walls up, and you have to get them to know, like, and trust you in a very short period of time and then close them. And so that can be challenging. But with Privy, we're able to actually help you become more enlightened to what the local market realities are, who the buyers are, who the agents are. It will certainly help you guys to do more deal flow, just like Chris and Christian and Brad are doing over there at Real Estate Investing Made Easy. Who is this for? I talked a little bit about this before, but Privy is exit strategy agnostic. It doesn't matter if you're doing fix and flip, buy and hold, wholesale, creative deal structure, you're getting long-term rentals, short-term rentals. Privy will help you find opportunities that you can write offers on every day and find viable ones that actually have good deep discounts, or properties that have good cap rates and good cash flow. If you've never done a deal, we can help you do your very first deal. If you've been around for a while, like Chris and the team, then you can scale. And they've added several new properties to their deal flow by doing what I was showing you guys tonight. But one of the most important things here is the commitment, right? Like, are you committed to really taking your business forward, doing the things you need to do to be able to start to take action and then get some momentum in your business, start closing some deals, and eventually get to a place where you've got such predictability and consistency in your company that you feel comfortable potentially leaving your job and doing this full time. These are just some of our users, some kind of basic testimonials. Christian Chase is an investor and an agent based out of Chicago. He's been in the business for many, many years, but he's closed over 300 properties that he's gotten from Privy only in the Chicago market. Mahmoud Isa, I actually got to hang out with him last week in Phoenix. He's a wholesaler. He's based out of Northern California, but he's doing deals virtually in Tampa. And his business partner, John Galan, who you mentioned earlier, they're absolutely killing it. They're doing 7 figures per year, doing only on-market properties. Many of those properties they source from Privy, but they're building their buyer's list from Privy, and they're just having a ton of success in a 100% market that's completely virtual. And they spend $0 on marketing. Michelle, her and her partner, Paul, they call themselves the traveling nomads. They actually are traveling the world, going from country to country, to state, and just doing virtual wholesaling. Michelle was really excited one day. She sent me a text saying that she found her largest assignment deal ever. It was in Colorado, right in my own backyard. I missed it, but Michelle found it. It was a $30,000 assignment fee, and that is not unusual. It happens to a lot of our users. So just some different use cases there. So with this systematic approach that I showed you guys tonight, it's going to help to implement some automation in your business so you don't have to be working it so hard. You're going to minimize risk. You're going to shorten your learning curve. You're going to save a huge amount of time. You're going to get the confidence in your numbers to know that you're accurately putting together an after repair value based off of other flipped properties, right? That reverse REI strategy. Be able to find that hot market that has consistent deal flow, and then you'll be able to get back to that maximum allowable offer way more easily than if you were doing stuff the old-fashioned way. And that confidence was an unexpected benefit that I think a lot of you will really appreciate in scaling your business. So Privy, right now, if you wanted to go to the website for a whole year, it'd be $1,788.
Yeah, so you guys can definitely leverage this system to make a ton of money.
One other thing too, so like if the timing's not right for you to invest today, that's totally fine. We do have a monthly plan where you can go, and we'll take 20% off your first month. So that'll bring it down to $119 for the first month, and then it'll be the normal price of $149 thereafter. That'll get you in there, and then you'll start to get the deal flow, and you're going to come to the training. You're going to watch our videos. We got live Q&A that we do twice per week. And then pretty soon you're going to start closing some deals. And then at that point, it may make sense to upgrade to an annual plan. And it won't be this discount. This is a discount we're only doing for a few days here for everyone that's here. So take advantage of that. And Mana, yes, you are grandfathered in your previous purchase price. So if you've already got Privy and you bought it 2 years ago, that's the price you're going to get to keep as long as you remain a Privy user. And our pricing has changed. It's gone up 50% in the last 6 months or so. Make sure you maintain that.
From data to dispo pays for the whole year, if not 3 or 4 years, right? So guys, if you guys are leveraging this consistently, like at the end of the day, right, it's not who's the best, it's who's left in this business, right? There's a lot of people that enter the fold. Most of them do not have the wherewithal. So all you need to do is have a system like Privy that is dialed in, that can give you all the tools and resources you need to consistently make offers. I have guys that are doing this part-time that we've trained on our system, where they're just doing it part-time and locking up deals left and right all over the country. It's stupid, simple and easy to do. Well, it's simple, it's not easy. You have to dedicate the time, energy, and effort. It's like going to the gym. You can't go to the gym once a month and expect a six-pack. You got to go a minimum 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and lay off the triple cheeseburgers.
Well, you guys, here's what I want to point out a couple things. So when you get to that registration page, make sure you put the promo code in, and at the bottom, beneath where the credit card field is the add a promo code link. So make sure you click that, and then it'll show you a button that says update price. Make sure you update that price. That will get you the special offer. And then for those of you that like to use promo or QR codes, here's the QR code for that same link. That'll take you here, but you still have to put the promo code in. All right, so you can use the link that I put in the chat. You can use the QR code, and that'll make sure you get the special offer. And then if you're brand new, we'll help you find your first deal. If you've been around for a while, we'll help you scale your business, bring some consistency and efficiencies to your business as well. And we're just looking forward to working with you guys. If you guys have any questions, just reach out to our team right here, support@privy.pro. They can help you out with any questions, and then also get you signed up.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Benson. Thank you for everything you do for helping to make real estate investing easy.
My pleasure, man. Awesome, guys. Well, everybody have a good rest of the week. We'll see you later, and we'll see you on the flip side.
All right. Peace.
Bye.